Forging a successful career path begins from your foundation. A foundation of quality and professional education. It is a weapon of transformation and a passport to the future. Hipmat's credibility and years of training thousands of professionals in HND, BTech, BSc, and MBA in the schools of Business and Management Sciences, Engineering and Education, with remarkable mentorship from the University of Bamenda for the BTech and MBA and the University of Boya for the BSc program is second to none. From committed professors and lecturers in classrooms to numerous academic field trips, internships and workshops, Hipmat will reform and guide you towards your success. Admissions are now open in our Boya and Douala campuses. Join us. Together, we will build a legacy.
Hipmat is what it is today because of its excellent and competent teachers.
You choosing Hipmat will be the perfect place to gain that professionalism that you need to further your educational career.
The Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, the University Institute for Professionals.
Televiewers, good evening and welcome to Prime Hour on my Media Prime. In the program today, we are going to be looking at the call by 35 rights groups calling on the international community to pressure the Cameroon government and the Seperatists through sanctions to end the ongoing crisis in the southwest and northwest regions. We also are going to be looking at other issues touching on our national life, especially regarding the ongoing saga that rocked Kumba on Saturday. We are going to be finding out the reactions of the people with regards to the call by the President of the Republic for Cameroonians to respect Saturday as a day for national mourning. We equally are going to be looking at what it will take to effectively mourn our children who died in Kumba. Also looking at the way forward after this morning, what should be done so that a definite end is put to the ongoing crisis. We are going to be discussing this with our panelists who are already in the house. Son Derek is in the house with us. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, and thanks Mr. Leo for inviting me to talk about the happenings in this our country. It's always a privilege. A shout out to our million listeners out there, and greetings to our co-panelists. I hope that what we are going to be discussing is going to help us to build this nation and make it stronger.
Also with us in the studio is Andre Natemi Bako, a Pan-Africanist. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo, and all the viewers of my Media Prime at this hour. And I hope that our ideas and contributions will be able to put forward a solution and a resolution on the way forward in solving the current crisis and the recent crisis we have been facing ever since we had our independence. Thank you very much.
We are also expecting Apostle Lambe Valentine Gwa to join us in the course of the program. We hear that the traffic situation from Bonaberi to Bonamusade is very tight. We hope he beats that and join us in the course of the program. But participating on this program all the way from Yaoundé, Cameroon's capital, is Reverend Gustave Ebai. Good evening. Pastor, we are glad to have you on Prime Hour for the first time. Hello,
gentlemen, about this. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can get you. Good evening and welcome.
Yes, thank you for welcoming me. It's a pleasure to be with you and with this wonderful gentleman to talk about the future of our land. Well, as you know, the rainy season has hit us a little bit hard this time. this October, the rains just keep coming and going as if it's the way for God to call our attention to the fact that the land needs water.
Okay, I will start with you. I'll start the debate with you, Reverend Gustave Ebai. Your first take on the call by 35 rights group for the international community to sanction both the government and the separatists, so that a definite solution is found with respect to the ongoing crisis.
Yes, I can tell you without any doubt, Leonard, that when I saw this caption on some paper, and I saw what hit me first was the fact that I want to see more tomorrow. I want to see another caption that says 35 political parties ask the government to resolve this issue, or 35 lawyer groups, or 35 syndicates of teachers, or 35 groups of journalists, or 35 groups of syndicates of car drivers, or anybody. We need to keep mounting the pressure. All the various groups in that have any concern about the people of Cameroon, we must all come together. It is not time for one organization or one individual to write or call the government. It is time where groups come together. It is making news because there are 35 rights groups. So imagine if all journalists, syndicates or unions or trade unions came together to pressure the government. Imagine political parties making one common statement. It would change the way we perceive everything.
Okay, Adrian Atemebako, your first take when you got the caption or the news that 35 human rights groups across the world are pressuring the international community to force the government and separatists to end the war.
What I can tell you and tell Cameroonians who are watching me and this program at this hour is that, you know, when it comes to affairs within the Cameroonian structure itself and the people of Cameroon, we can put all the blame, accuse the government, accuse Mr. Biya, and we can even go ahead to insult the administration. But Mr. Liu, I will tell you that when it comes to the international community, I will stand to defend my nation and defend the head of state at any level, because I don't think that the Cameroonians or the organizations that are calling on the international community to come and sanction the government and the separatist fighters for what is happening in Cameroon. I have said that the Cameroonians themselves must find the need to see that they need a change in Cameroon, and something which brings the Cameroonians together as one, something which assimilates them together in an organization where they can begin to cry out for a change which befits the Cameroonian population, and not a one where you begin to call out international community to come here to come and lay sanction, when we know that these are the men and such organizations that are behind such destabilization which are happening in our country today. Mr. Liu, I will still tell you that when in 2010 Mr. Biya began refusing to renew all the contracts that he signed with France in the 60s, some of the colonial pack, he began refusing it. We saw in 2014 we started hearing the rise of Boko Haram. In 2017 we started hearing the rise of the separatist fighters in the northwest and in the southwest. It is true that we can always say that Cameroon is better off without Biya if we don't have any pressure from the international community, where the international community wants to dictate to Cameroonians how they should live and how they should run their political affairs. But let me be honest to you, Mr. Liu, to tell you that Cameroon is better with this old man in power, as long as we still have dictators who want to tell Cameroonians how Cameroonians should live their life. So what I'm saying here, Mr. Liu, is that Cameroonians need to prepare for a one-time change and understand the vision. If you look at the communal, how they call it, is it the communal liberalism of Paul Biya, you come to realize that he has a very good vision. We sit here today, Mr. Liu, I'm not talking on the behalf of the administration or the Cameroon government, I'm talking on the behalf of Mr. Biya for one of the first time. The media home where we are sitting today is not being opened or is not being issued or allowed to be functioned by any other person, but it is being allowed by Mr. Biya. The Afrique Media, which is a Pan-African television in Cameroon, which he put there to allow Pan-Africanists to air out their views around Africa, it was still done by Mr. Biya. So what I'm saying here, Mr. Leo,
Mr. Biya created this TV?
He issued the license for the function of this platform so that Anglophones can be able to air out their minds and speak what is wrong with the country. I think that is a very good opportunity. So what I'm saying here, Mr. Leo, is that when I started hearing international community coming in, because I've seen that in different parts of the world, where they come in, they take out our leaders, they carry them to The Hague, or they carry them to other places and punish them. We should be able to solve our own problem. That is what I'm trying to say, Mr. Leo.
Okay. Yes, Derek, what has changed? Why the need for these guys to pressure the international community at this time, calling for them to mount extra pressure? What has changed in this fight?
First, let me say that when I heard the call of the 35 rights group for the two parties to come to the table, it was very much welcome, because at this time we have buried a lot and we are really tired. But so far so good. What has changed is that human rights has been abused. What has changed is that people kill people without regret. What has changed is that a lot of lives have been lost. And so I think it's but necessary that we should hearken like people of conscience to the call of the international organizations and rights groups all over the world to end this senseless war, to end this killing, and to end this barbarism. Because I would say that at one point I think that those who are really responsible for the persistence of this crisis is the international organization, because they seem to be playing us a ping-pong game. They come in, pretend as if they want to really come in full flesh, and when we are ready for them to come in, they leave the stage again for us to continue killing each other. So if this call first and foremost is genuine, then I think it should be appreciated. You know, at a time when brothers are killing brothers, sisters killing sister, whosoever can bring peace is welcome. So I think at this time when international rights groups are calling for the two parties, which has been a sing-song and an anthem from every other person, that these two parties need to sit on a round table, because the person who is suffering from this conflict, it is a common man in the street, it is a local man in the street. So I think what they have done is a good thing, but it should not end with pieces of papers and pens. It should go with action, because we are tired of hearing international organization and rights group like Chartered Human Rights, African, AU, UN. What they keep telling us is UN will tell you we are monitoring the situation. EU will tell you we are following what is happening in Cameroon, and other rights group in Germany and other countries, they will say the same. But they keep monitoring the situation and nothing keeps changing, because they are busy making sentences. We saw at one point in time when US as a country had to go to some sanctions to Cameroon, which was applauded. But I think the human rights, they are doing a very good thing, but we are tired of sentences and we need action. If they need to call the groups, they should give a date limit for the groups to act. If not, they can intervene full flesh.
Reverend Gustav Ebai, do we need to remind the international community to do what they are supposed to do as far as ensuring that peace reigns in Africa, in Cameroon in particular?
No, the international community does what it's supposed to do, but Leo, Africans are well educated, Cameroonians are well educated. We already know that the international community works only by interest. There is no way for us to pretend as if we don't know how the international community works. We study the history of the world. Nobody comes to your house to help you if it doesn't benefit that person. The international community will not spend or bring any resources or do as much as Cameroonians themselves ought to do. In Africa, here in our culture, we say that you cannot cry the dead more than the person who has the funeral. You only go to sympathize. The international community steps in when the international community thinks it is right for them to step in. In the situation of Cameroon right now, I agree with the other panelists that the Cameroonians have to step up. Not just Cameroonians, Anglophones have to step up for the resolution of this conflict. Me, you, we are talking here on television because it matters to us. But there are people, even at this moment when we are talking, who are at home or on.
The lines
Why things are not going on.
Okay. No, you are on, Pastor, just go on.
Yes, we have to understand that the reason why things are the way they are is because of our lack of responsibility. We need to claim that responsibility as Cameroonians to resolve this conflict. That is why I was saying that every strata of this country has to step up as a group. But the women can no longer just speak as one group. All the groups that are women have to speak. All of us who are journalists, from every group we belong, we have to speak in one voice. All those who are teachers, lawyers, we all need to come together to decry this. It is not because the 35 human rights groups or rights groups around the world have spoken. What about all the thousands of groups and organizations in Cameroon? When are we going to start speaking as one voice for the purpose of the peace we are all crying for? If international organizations can speak as one, what about organizations that are in Cameroon? What about our political parties? So yes, I can tell you that the international community will come in if we as Cameroonians raise up our voices loud enough. They will step in.
Okay, it means that if I get what you are saying, they have not gotten enough, I don't know, SOS from Cameroon indicating that we are in difficulties. But we have seen the interest that has been given to Nigeria just 2 weeks into their conflict. We've seen all major players, political players in the world reacting to what is happening to Nigeria with fewer deaths. Cameroon, we are counting more than 4,000 deaths and hundreds of thousands of displaced persons in and out of the country. What else do you need to tell the international community? How else are you supposed to cry for them to know that the situation is dire in Cameroon?
Leo, thank you. It's good that you have highlighted this fact. On the day children were shot in Kumba on the 24th, there was an attack on an educational institution in Kabul in Afghanistan.
Okay.
It made more news and took more interest than the Kumba shooting. That's why I was talking to you about interest. Interest is when a people do not take even the death of one person as something they talk about on social media. When it came out in Kabul, international media covered it because their conflict has international interest. Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa. Believe me that if 2 people in Nigeria die, it will make more news than 100 people in Cameroon. What I was saying is we all know the dynamics of international politics. It is not a hidden secret. The Cameroonian revolutionaries or those who want to fight for human rights or fight for any rights in Cameroon, we do not play the game knowing that we are starting from a weak point. We are from a weak point, therefore we need to do more to call more attention to us. What is the role that we play in the international game? Who is Cameroon in the international landscape? We need therefore to do more than Nigeria. We have to do 10 times what the Nigerians did to call attention to their conflict. Because we are not a big player in the international game of international affairs. Nigeria, just one thing will call every partner because they have interest in Nigeria, economic interest in Nigeria. When we talk about Cameroon Business Forum, how much investment has been done in Cameroon for the last 10 years? How much have we grown in international investment? It's when people are afraid of losing you that they come to your aid. We need to do more. We have brothers out of the country who speak of our country as if they don't care when people die. People die in Cameroon, and one journalist will declare it, the next journalist will instead come and insult that other journalist. One Cameroonian group will speak for it, one will speak against it, the next one will come and speak against both groups. We are so divided in the social media, we are so divided in the physical media. Nobody who reads about Cameroon can actually trust the news, because one story in Cameroon has about 4 different versions, and then there are suppositions. We need to have an agenda, fight for that agenda, which is the reconstruction or the restoration of our nation into a peaceful nation.
Okay. Yeah, thank you there, Pastor, for that. And now, Atem, what should be sanctioned on the side of the government and that of the separatists, because they are calling for a clear sanction? If we were to assume that yes, a sanction should be meted, what should be sanctioned?
Mr. Leo, I do not first stand with the idea of sanctions to start with, because you see, looking at what we've copied from other African countries on how we have seen how the international community have neglected the interest of those countries. You see, when we talk today here of international community, I don't think that Africans still understand where African member states have been tied. I keep saying that the African nations or member states have been tied at the level of the United Nations. And until we begin to break ourselves away from those international organizations which have deprived us from our sovereignty, we are not going anywhere. And that is why I don't believe in the campaign for international community to lay sanctions on in Cameroon on both parties. At the end of the day, who are the people who are going to suffer? It is the Cameroonians that are going to suffer. It's not the government. It's not the separatist fighter. It is the Cameroonians that are going to suffer. So I'm not interested in people making the 35 organizations calling for international community to lay sanctions in Cameroon. I quoted a good example here. We saw in Libya how Libya has lived for 25 years under a democratic system, and the Malians have been maltreated for 25 good years. Even when the Keita took over power in 2013 or so, came in hoping that he was going to bring change to Mali. It never happened. Instead, he enslaved the Malians. France stood by, watched. America was there, watched. Russia was there, watched. They were only there exploiting the country. What I'm saying is that the only thing that would genuinely draw the attention of the international community, and for only one reason why they will come, is only when the population of that country decides to seek and take their destiny into their own hands. Why then do they come? They come in because they want to come and make sure that their constitution, their system of democracy will later on be still implemented, so that at the end of the day, the people still go back to the ballot box and still bring the system back to the same mess in which it is. And that is what we have been seeing. So what I'm saying here, Mr. Leo, is that when it comes to the international community, I will defend my nation, because I've seen that they don't have any interest. At the level of the United Nations, when Mugabe was asking the UN to give us 2 seats, to make 7 seats as permanent members at the level of the UN National Security Council, that tender and that application has been there for years. They have never respected it. That simply means that Africa is like an orphan that is being carried by stepfathers and stepfathers who do not come from the same family and who maltreat the Africans. So
Are you questioning impunity because we are not represented at the level of the
Mr. Leo, that is
Council? So there should be impunity in Africa.
What I'm saying here is that in the first place, we do not have, we had no reason being with the United Nations, because the purpose of the United Nations was to do what? Was to seek for peace and resolve conflicts in all its member country. For example, like what is happening today in Cameroon, life is life. It doesn't matter where it is in Istanbul or whether it's in Iraq or whether it's in Libya. once a country enters into a state of emergency like what we are today in Cameroon, the role of the United Nations was to step in and mediate the two parties. We have seen how in Rwanda, in Libya, in Mali, in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, we have had South Sudan, we have thousands and millions of Africans that have died, and United Nations stood by and watched. We understand these things at that level, Mr. Leo, that we understand that global warming and climate change is a greater challenge for depopulation. We also understand that it is a great campaign to keep Africa down so that Europe can always emerge and America can always emerge. So we understand this thing. It is a time when I keep saying that, Mr. Leo, the only way forward in Cameroon, looking at the current statistics and looking at the current situation, we are having we're having the government, we're having the separate factor, which makes the solution become very difficult. If we were only facing the government, it would even be different. But now we are facing the separatist fighter and the government. How do we resolve this thing? It means that we are left with two delicate options. One is to call in the international community, who will still come in here with their interest. The second option, which is the most difficult one, and is the one that I'm proposing to all Cameroonians, come together, find the need. Forget whether you are Francophone or whether you are Anglophone. We were not colonized by French, neither by English. We were colonized by the German, and we are people from the same origin. They gave us this title because they understand that these are the things that are going to keep causing conflict in our country. Mr. Leo,
yeah, that is a proposal you are putting forth.
Yes.
Now, what if the first option that you are proposing, that the population should take their destiny, what if it fails? The war should go on indefinitely?
It is impossible for it to fail, because I'll give you a good example what happened in Nigeria. The reason why the international community quickly saw interest in Nigeria is because it was a nationwide protest.
Yeah, but what if Cameroonians decide not to come out?
No. The issue with Cameroon here is that Cameroon have always been going out using a political party. They have never seen the need for Cameroonians to come together. And that is why I'm establishing the fact of the killing of these children to be the need, whether you are a Francophone, whether you are an Anglophone. If there was a march protest in Kumba or Bamenda, we needed to see the march protest in all the 10 regions in Cameroon.
Okay.
So this was the second option, Mr. Liu, as I was about to say. The second option here is the church stepping in, because we are neglecting the role of the church in Cameroon and not understanding that the church is a government. And that is why I am saying that if the church stand and come in with one voice and are able to demonstrate their authority in the side of the government, in the side of the separate fighter, Mr. Leo will be negotiating a way forward. The church has been dormant, and the church has not been playing its role at all. The people who are dying, the people who are being displaced, the people who are being killed are members of houses of congregations that are being running away. What are their leaders doing? Mr. Leo, we are tired with leaders that want to lead from behind, where when the people begin to face very stiff confrontations ahead, the leaders begin to use them as their shield. This is the time where I'm calling all the church leaders, and that is why I said that the people who are behind this killing of these girls, they have crossed their limit, and they have decided that we are going to die. They will be the one to die, Mr. Leo. That is our position. So we are going to press forward with the population and with the church until we get peace in Cameroon. Only the Cameroonians.
I don't know whether Derek buys your opinion. Derek, what if the population decides not to come out as he is saying? Would you go by his second proposition that would require that international community steps in, and if they were to step in and follow the request from this 35 rights group to sanction, what should be sanctioned on both sides?
Yeah, I understand the stand of Mr. Ebako. He's a staunch Pan-Africanist who doesn't see or seems to buy anything good from the West. But of course, what I think and what I believe in is that at this point in time, the two parties have failed woefully to settle the matter. They have failed to see the problem standing in front of them, and it needs a third eye to see that problem. At the point in time where we thought in 2016 that this crisis was going to be resolved, that's when we thought it was still an internal issue. But now that he has gained international surveillance, he has been voiced internationally, and the two parties have refused to sit on the table, it would take a third party to force the two to sit on that table. And that is where the international organization should come in. And if they are to come into sanction, we cannot deny the fact that both the separatists and the government have committed human rights abuse. That cannot be debated. It is a fact, and it is very, very visible. And so there is a law, an international law, that governs human rights abuse. If these two parties should be sanctioned, they should be called to the table, and then the leaders, because both parties have leaders. We are not blind to think that they have leaders, although the separatists have separated leaders like the name separatists. But we understand that there should be a leader somewhere. If the international organization could call the two to the table, first, it is that the government of Cameroon could be denied financial, material, military aid. Secondly, the borders could be controlled to avoid the illegal transfer of arms from one country to the other. Then we could talk about controlling arms in the hands of the separatists, and then sanctioning the government to become financially wanting, to understand, because to understand that the war is costing them more. Mr. Leo, I was talking to an organization sometimes when I told them that, you know, at this time, Cameroon is receiving rice from international organization, but Cameroon has never begged rice. There was a time that Cameroon fed China in 2000. Cameroon fed China. So if Cameroon is at a time when they are receiving aid as minimal as rice from international organization.
Yeah, but the United States is the superpower of the world, but they also borrow money, eh?
But that's what I'm saying. Yes, we borrow money.
Yeah.
Cameroon,
that because Cameroon produces rice.
No, I'm just telling you that Cameroon has fed other countries that are today giants.
Mm-hmm.
What stopped Cameroon from being the giants that they have fed?
But you are not telling me how sanctions should be done.
That's what I'm saying. I'm making it clear. Mm-hmm. The sanction should be calling first. I've talked about financial, military sanction, economic sanction
on the Cameroon government.
We'll talk about first controlling a circulation of arms that is blocking the borders, because you know, no matter what is happening,
the borders.
The separatists are in countries, and these countries, some of their leaders are out of the country, and we heard Dr. Sako do the how did he call it
the draft?
The draft, the war draft.
Are you saying that the sanction for separatists is to block borders? Is that the sanction?
Controlling them. When Sako sits down and does a war draft, talking about purchase of guns, where are the guns purchased? And how do they get to this country? Where is Sako resident? And how does that country control the circulation of those weapons? Those are some certain things that we should think about.
You are talking of controlling separatists, but sanctioning the government. How fair are you?
You know, first, the government is direct. It's a direct person. The separatists are, like I said, separated in their own way.
You don't know where.
Yes, there is no target.
Are you saying that the international community does not know where Ayabacho is, Sako is, Chris Ano is?
You know,
is that what you're saying?
You are getting me wrong. I said something here that these people live in countries. Now, if we are talking about the Cameroon government, it is easier to call President Paul Biya to questioning. But it is difficult to know who directly to question with the separatists, except you are going to be questioning all the leaders. Because as at now, the only person that the separatists had first, who was recognized as the interim president, was Ayuk Julius Sisi Siku. Immediately he was arrested.
So if you were to be made, the chief judge of the ICC today, and you were to prosecute the Cameroon government, you will not know who to sanction. And on the side of the separatists, you say, okay, for the separatists, since we don't know who the leader is, all we need to do is to control them.
No, you are surely forcing some words into my mouth. These leaders, no, Mr. Leo, let me put it clear here. These leaders, Sako has a country of origin, Ayabacho has a country of origin. Now I'm telling you that within the separatist camp, there is still separation. But the truth is that all of them are leading, they have the same vision, despite the fact that they are separated. So if they are to be arrested or to be brought to book, it means you have to go in one by one. You will not know a particular person to talk to. That makes the separatist case a little more complicated than the government, because the government has a single authority.
When you talk about the sanctions, and you still keep talking about the international organization coming to sanction the Cameroon government and the separatist movement, I want to ask you a question. Who are these international organizations that you are expecting to come to Cameroon and sanction?
That's my next question too. That's my next question too. Pastor, yes, the rights groups are calling on the international community to come sanction both the government and the separatists. What do we understand by international community here? Who is the international community?
The international community is anyone who considers the right to life as being important and the right to the pursuit of happiness. But I want to say that I want to thank Brother Bako because he keeps coming back to self-determination. A people who have self-determination have to stand up for that self-determination. I agree with him that we cannot cry foul or cry wolf to the international community when we are not strengthened. The international community you are talking about is also part of the international church bodies. Where are they? I like the fact that he challenged church, we as religious people, because even the religious international community has the obligation to speak out for what is happening in Cameroon. But how can they do that when we ourselves are not united in decrying it together, making such a loud noise about it? I want to say that whether it's by sanction or control, the international community cannot come in through the government. Their mission will be thwarted. The international community cannot come in through the armed factions. Their mission will be thwarted. The only way the international community can come in is when moderate voices, that's the people in the middle ground that Babaku was talking about. We in the middle, when we are powerful enough, they can come in through us. Because the international community can only come in through the moderate voices. And it is time for us to raise those moderate voices, to encourage the positive examples, to encourage the union of voices that are for objectivity, for peace, for resolution. But when we continue to instead lift up the voices of the extreme factions, those who are with the guns are the ones that concern us, then the international community cannot even find a way in. There is no way the international community can negotiate with either parts by coming in through the other factions. So we in the middle must be strong enough. If we want the international community, we must be the one to bring it in. But right now, in my own opinion, I agree. My opinion stands also that we do not even yet need the international community until the Cameroonian public recognizes its own power in self-determination of the future of Cameroonians. Even if the international community was to come in today, it will still not work. We need to have political parties that know that they are there for the service of the people, not for self-aggrandizement. We need to have religious authorities who risk it because it is the ministry of Christ to risk it for the welfare of people. We need to have a civil society that is focused upon building the communities and strengthening the communities, not upon winning contracts or making money. Until we have a self-determination where we recognize that at this moment, talking to a group like, for example, let me use an example, Leo. Children are dead. we are focused about the international community saying, but do you know that if the Okada Union in Kumba makes a declaration about these children, it will be more powerful on the ground than the international community voice? Do you know that if one of the armed groups came out and said, we declare anybody who harms our own Anglophone population and our children, it will be more powerful than what the international community said? We need to push our own voices to come out from the ground. The teachers' unions, the lawyer unions who were at the beginning of this conflict, they need to be more vocal. We are talking the international community to come through if the middle and moderate voices are silenced.
But is Cameroon
do not lift up the population?
Is Cameroon not part of the international community? We are talking about the United Nations.
Yes, and the African Union, the United Nations, the African Union, the World Council of Churches. We have all these, the ICC. We have the the agencies of the United Nations. We have different foundations around the world who work for peace. We are bet. Look at any history in any country in the world. The international community comes in when the civil society of that country is strong enough to ask the international community accounts. Right now, the factions that are fighting in our country cannot ask the international community any accounts because, just like the panelists were saying, they have all abused human rights. So the only people who can ask any account from the international community is the civil society, that's the community itself. But how do we do that? When we have suspicion and threat, when we do not agree to come together and say, this thing is wrong. Belanako was right that the fact that there was a match in Kumba and there was not a match in every region shows a weakness of the nation. When something evil comes to your nation, we all are supposed to be one. If we won the World Cup, there would have been celebrations in all around all the nations. There would have been celebrations when we won the Nation Cup. The Nation Cup went around the country. Children are dead. How can we not cry around the country? We are supposed to build a community that reacts because one member of the community has been hurt. Not a community that insults any member who comes to tell them that it is time for us to react. The power is always with the people. Power resides with the people. When the people choose to take away any power from any authority, it is only then that it works. But when the people themselves sit and submit to darkness, then they will suffer that darkness until the day the people decide that it is enough.
Okay, thank you. Pastor, now these calls have been made severally. This is not the first call. I remember when there was the Ngabu incident, we had calls for something to be done. The EU has written severally on the crisis and also evoking the case of Maurice Kamto at the time he was still in prison, and other instances have written. Nothing has happened. Why do we think, or those who are writing now think that something different is going to come out of it?
I think that is where a lot of Africans and Cameroonians today are being still deceived. Because you live in a country where two regions are heavily destabilized and mass killing is going on, and we have individuals who claim this killing on social media who reside in America and Europe. And here Cameroonians are calling on international organizations to come in and help us. Are they mad? Can you not understand that? Even way back from history, Mr. Leo, as we began to research why was a need for the United Nations to be created. It was created for the interest, for the exploitation of the Africans or Africa. It was not actually intended to join the African member state for its decolonization and for its stability. It was not so. When I keep repeating, when they sat 106 to 7 years ago in Berlin at the Berlin conference, without any African head of state or African community to represent the Africans up there, to divide Africa without the consent of the African. And that was how they named us and strategized us, that we are talking till today. So how do we go back and do we continue to still live like, I quote the example here of Mali as a very good example where Cameroonians should be gearing to. Mali for 25 years have suffered under a democratic system. When they decided to go out and claim their sovereignty, to be the master of their own destiny, that was the only time where the international community spoke. But France has been there. America has been there. Russia has been there. France said that they cannot leave because the Malians are not equipped. But you gave them weapons to do what? You said the jihadists are there when you are the one keeping the jihadists there because of your democracy. So all I'm saying here is that we need to redefine our history. We need to redefine the kind of independence we have. We need to redefine the kind of system which we are using in our country to lead our people. And that's why I say it's a system which denies its people. Cameroonians have been seeing Cameroon like an elephant or like a foreign land where everybody has come to work its own money and one day pack their bags and leave. They don't see that Cameroon is their own country whereby they need to stand for it and make that change. In Rwanda, what does Kagame say? Kagame does not say as a dictator that he is a good leader. He said that the Rwandese themselves came together and decided to build their own country. And that is why I said that we, the youth, making almost 60 to 80% of the population in this country, the future lies in our hands. The government, by the definition of democracy, is by the people and not by the government which is elected by the people. So the international community can only use shame to approach only when the people decide to charter their own destiny and take back their sovereignty into their own hands and to choose the kind of leader and the kind of government they want to lead them. And that is why I'm saying that it will not be wise for Cameroonians to press on and begin to call on the international community, which is in their interest, to see how many people they build those statistics. You will be so surprised that you don't know the statistics of what is happening in the Northwest and Southwest, but America or the UN has clear statistics on what is happening there. They enjoy this thing because we understand where Africa is getting to. And the depopulation of Africa and the destabilization of Africa has always been to their interest. So we need to find the need. Our only strength and our only way out of this crisis in Cameroon for our sovereignty is that Cameroonians need to bind themselves together. When we come together, that will be our only strength to chase away every other dictator from outside who wants to seek to destabilize our country. Why do you think that these men who sit in the diaspora organize killings back home here, organize gang groups in the name of Ambazonians who go and carry out kidnapping and all of that, and these international communities sit there and watch and grant them safety to live there and begin to destabilize it? You saw what America did in Pakistan. They went in there without the apology and without the consent of the Pakistani government, took out Osama bin Laden and told them that they owe them no apology. You tell me, since Cameroon government has sent 15 warrants of arrest for specific individuals in the diaspora, it was just few days ago that America repatriated some Cameroonians back home. Why can they not send back those people who are killing, carrying out all this kind of destabilization which is happening now? So we cannot be calling on an international community knowing that France is sitting here, and you think that the international community is going to come here. If they are going to come, it's not going to be in our interest. And if they pose any sanction to the government, know that the people that will suffer is a common man. It's not the government. It's a common. In Libya, in Mali, we saw that when the ECOWAS bloc laid sanction on the junta. At the end of the day, it's the common man who suffers. So we must learn to resolve our own crisis in order to show our maturity, whereby the international community can understand that truly a time has come for us to attain that independence, which has nothing to do with France or Europe or EU or America.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Great program. Mr. Ebako is the man of the program today. The international community is the propaganda that escalated this misfortune. Those right groups are not better than church and civil society groups. Mola Andre is writing from Tico. Good evening to you. Mola, good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm Neba from Bamenda. The point of the international community to sanction government and separatists is right. For me, the government is of bad faith on declaring war on his people, knowing well that English-speaking were fighting for the rights. Their leaders are in prison. Mancho carry a coffin and they gave him 10 years. Mr. Liu, love this program. My gratitude to Mr. Ebako for his bravery. Ambazonia has nothing to offer. We all should solve our problems with the government. Ambazonians have failed, and if we keep supporting them, we will only lose our chances of getting the government to our demands because separation has no answers from the government. This mail, also writing from Tico. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The government has put fears in the hearts of Cameroonians. The women went out, no one was arrested. If men, boys go out for protest, you know the outcome. I'm sorry. I'm Luis, writing from Malabo. This one says, good evening, Mr. Liu. Please, I wish to ask the panelists who said Cameroon is one because it was colonized by Germany, whether there was anything Cameroon before the coming of the Europeans, where the Com people, the Bakweri people, where the Mancon people, or the Bamilekes. Ayong Thomas is writing from Bamenda, Tebek. Ignatius Fundu says, the international community is bad, but a person who has diarrhea cannot be afraid of darkness anymore. Again, a father who cannot keep peace in his home becomes a nuisance to neighbors, thereby attracts their reaction and intervention. This war is more than Cameroon government. Let the foreign bodies come in and stop the killings. Okay, good evening to you, Ignatius, watching us from a part of Douala here. Prince Williams, writing from Baron Bikang, that is in Kumba, says, greetings, Mr. Kuma, special greetings to all the panelists. Good topic. Thank you for very much for the work you are doing out there. Prince William, good evening to you. Okay. Now, if Cameroon and the separatists are supposed to be sanctioned, what will it change in the way Cameroonians are living today? And if these rights groups are calling for the international community to come in, is it not also because of the failure of the civil society, like Pastor Gustave is saying, and Ebako, to pressure both sides to end the conflict?
Yeah, thank you. You know, Mr. Leo, the country Cameroon where we live in is a country where we live is governed by fear. Cameroon is a country that the people are afraid of the leaders. And it's very obvious that and difficult for Cameroonians to come out the way we think. Not because they cannot come out, but because they have been instilled with fear from the leaders. The leaders have not given that space. If we are talking about this, for instance, when someone calls for a protest, it is immediately stopped because there is always a thinking in the government mentality that this protest will be overtaken by politicians. And if politics overtakes it, it is gearing towards overthrowing the Yaoundé government. And that's why they will always instill fear in Cameroonians not to come out. Now you ask a question of what will change should they come in. A lot of things will change. And the first thing that will change is that the country will return to peace. And the next thing that will change is that Cameroonians will be able to feed for themselves. What will change will be that development will keep booming. What will change will be that we will now have different ways of building our country after shattering it. What will change will be that we have tasted war and may never want war to occur again in our country. So I think, despite the fact that we love it the way we are as Africans, and we really want to be African, Cameroon is a sovereign state. True, that we don't debate. Your child that you have in the house, Mr. Leo, is your child, and you have sovereignty over that child. It is your right to discipline your child. But if you lock the door to kill the child, it is the neighbor's duty to break the door to save the life of that child. I think Cameroonians have been suffocating under a dictatorial government, and it is the international organization right, if it is goodwill, to break that door and come in.
The question, I asked that question already, that severally similar pleas have been emitted from many instances across the world. Nothing is happening. What if the international community, like the neighbor, decides not to come to the assistance of the child?
You know, we always know that whatever the problem is, if there's a problem, there needs to be talk. We need to talk to each other. From 2016, it's too much a long time that these two parties would have spoken to each other. And we don't know for what reason. That is because, in my opinion, is because they are two extremes. The government is an extremist and the separatists are extremists. And nobody wants to come to a middle point. All want to prove authority. And because of that, you know, when two people are quarreling or debating on an issue, like we are talking here, and each person wants to prove that he is right, it takes a third party to say, oh, you are right here and you are wrong here. You are right here and you are wrong here. And you realize that the tensions start calming down.
Yeah, but my question to you is, you say that when there is tension amongst two persons, a third party is supposed to come here. And according to you, that third party should be the international community. But my question is, what if that third party, which is the international community, fails to come in? And why are you not seeing like Ebako and Pastor Gustav, that the civil society, that is you, are denying to see your failure in bringing pressure on the government and the separatists to stop this?
You know, one thing I will tell you is that, and I've said it, that Cameroon is governed by leaders who have instilled fear in Cameroonians. And for them to go to the streets, it's difficult. Not because they don't want to go, but because we have been brainwashed and instilled with fear. Cameroonians are a type of people that if you call them today that we are going out to protest, in fact, if bottles of beer stand in front of Cameroonians, they forget about the protest. Okay. Because we are whitewashed to think that we can't solve our immediate problem. So it can only be possible if we decide to educate a new generation with a new breed that will kill fear, to understand that in order to build something, another thing will be destroyed. Okay. And then they stand and face the fear and come out to the street. Okay. But the coming out of the street should not be called, because when you call, that's how the government too plans. It should be something that is spontaneous, like what neighboring Nigeria is doing, where celebrities are in the streets, on the street, and leading the protest, and it happens just everywhere at the same time.
Okay, let's take a listen to this outing by Papi Tangufo, the CEO of Farmers House in Bomenda, who had a press conference today to react to the ongoing crisis in the southwest and northwest regions.
Because as I knew him back in the 70s, that's quite a long time ago, I knew who he is, what he can do, and what he cannot do. So events these last few years, precisely, this is the 4th year, has given rise to situations that I cannot identify with the person that I know. It's true that there are others doing things in his name. He has authorized others to talk in his name, who may not be doing exactly what he would have done himself. So for that reason, whatever happens, good or bad, it goes to him because he is the leader of the country. In our tradition, Grassfield, for instance, we call the chief, the child, Kmer, that's the child. That is the chief, is a child. Why is he called like that? Because he depends on so many, he depends on his population for his information. So we should always guide the Kmer, the child, who is our chief. So, ladies and gentlemen, something started like a joke, and we all thought that it may end tomorrow. That tomorrow is now 4 years. So I don't see how we can keep quiet, especially with recent happenings. The latest being the disaster in Kmer. Before then, it was Gabou. So, the big question is, where are we heading to as a nation? Where is Cameroon heading to as a nation? Are we actually on the right path? Are we? We are not. I don't think anybody else can say otherwise. I don't think we are on the right path. And our consciences dictate that since we have seen something wrong, we should say it. If it is corrected, okay. If it is not corrected, okay. But at least our consciences will be clear that at least said it.
Okay, that is Pa Anglophone talking there from Bamenda. Is this what is required from Cameroonians today? Pastor Gustave, he is a fervent militant of the ruling CPDM party out there in Bamenda. He says that he has noticed that something is not going right with the nation, especially at its head, that it is time for people to speak out. Do you buy what he just said?
I don't want to get into any political discussion, Leonard, but I'm going to say something that is going to sound in your ears and to many ears a little bit irritating, but it's the truth.
Okay.
We are a country that is so much dependent on civil service. This country, majority of the people survive on the civil servant income. Majority of families. I mean, the reason why we cannot come out on the streets, I want to a little bit differ with Derek, is not because we are afraid. It's because even when people die, we eat well and sleep well. Nigeria, the superstars, the musicians, and the film actors are on the street because their livelihood was in danger. In Nigeria, almost everybody is a businessman. The attacks by the police were on their businesses. In this country, why we cannot act is because somehow the only people who end up suffering are the farmers. Have you ever seen a country where the highest people suffering from a crisis are the poorest people of that country? The civil servants in the northwest and the southwest earn a full salary. Some even earn the security or danger premiums. This country keeps going on because it's not because we are afraid, it's because we are comfortable. We are comfortable because our government keeps recruiting people into the government. So even when people die, even when there is shooting, people know that they will still earn their salaries. In the early 90s, when we had the former ghost towns and the multi-partisan fights, people stayed at home for years. Electricity bills and water bills were not paid. There was complete disobedience, but the country kept going because the government kept paying people's salaries. This country, we are a people, whether you're a contractor or whether you're who, we depend so much on the government. And as long as the government is paying the bills, we would decry, but we don't want to risk our neck. I know that is a very unpopular thing to say, but the truth is, if Cameroonians' livelihoods were in danger, if this thing was disturbing people who had factories in Manfe and in Kumba, if there were factories and factory workers could not go to work, there would have been people on the street. The only people who have lost their jobs are people working in CDC, poor farmers. The only people hiding in the bushes are farmers. The only people whose children are not going to school are the poorest people, because you and I, talking on television, we have been able to move our children to places where they can go to school. This is a country where we live on salary. We are not a business country. So as long as we receive our salaries, we will not dare risk our necks. That is the simple truth. So I will not go to political comments, and it is not out of fear. It is that we have an economy where this thing can drag, and families, you still have us looking fresh, eating and going around our things, until the livelihood of people is threatened. The people do not take danger seriously, or do not take the suffering of the community seriously. Right now, who is suffering? If you want to solve this problem, it has to begin with the person suffering. But who is suffering? The person suffering is the person who cannot speak on your television. The person talking, suffering, is the person who is hiding in the bush, who is struggling, cannot remove his cocoa from the farm. The person suffering is the person who cannot drive his bus from Boya to Kumba, who cannot drive his bus from Kumba to Manfe. That is the person suffering. Which class of people is suffering? Are the teachers suffering? Are the doctors suffering? Are we journalists suffering? This is a country where the suffering is not, until a family loses somebody, then we cry on television and weep. But we have to realize that this will not go on forever, because the more we keep consuming our economy and letting problems eat up the economy, the more we fragilize this country. We think that the government is doing so well, but it is not doing so well. We are fragilizing the economy because we are allowing problems to grow in our country, and we are contented because we can earn our salaries. We need to solve these problems, because a fragile economy like our own can collapse any day, and we will find ourselves, both private people and civil servants, all crying. I still come back to say, the civil society, those in the middle, whether you are a private person or not a private person, those who are in the middle, who are the largest number of population, the people in the middle are more than the people who are carrying guns in population. We need to unite our voices. We need to decry this issue. We need to advise our families, our cousins. And the strange thing is, we do know all those who are carrying guns. We belong to them. We relate with them. So please, do not ask me political questions. I am more interested in the community structuring. We need to care for our community, so that what we call the international community, we call the international community on behalf of our local community. We cannot call the international community when we do not care for the local community.
We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we discuss our second topic for tonight. watching Premier on My Media Prime. This time around, we are going to be looking at the day of mourning that has been set aside by the President of the Republic. That is Saturday, day after tomorrow. The nation is supposed to pay homage to the children who were killed in the Kumba secondary school. And I will start by asking you, Andrew Natemi Bako, how significant is the declaration of this day to honor these kids?
Well, I would first say, Mr. Leo, I think that's a very good gesture coming from Mr. Bia Bivondo to actually dedicate a specific day for the mourning of the loss of these children who died in Kumba. So I think that this is it really shows that at one point, as an individual, he has actually acknowledged and has felt the pain of these families who have actually lost their children in this hideous and diabolic conflict which we have been witnessing in those two regions. You see, but Mr. Leo, like I keep saying, that Cameroonians should be able to understand their common problem and know their history in order for them to charter their future and their way forward. You see, when my co-panelist there talks about a child locked up in a house with a father, and the father beats the child and expects a neighbor to come in, it is not the situation in which we are referring to in Cameroon. Cameroonians have elected a government, which means that this is it's not a question between a child and a father. I would want to instead put it a vice versa, that rather it is a mature people who have decided to put in a government in place to lead them or to represent them. And that's why I go back at the end of the day to say that the government, it is us who is the government. So the problem, like I said, Mr. Liu, before, it's about the system. We don't have sovereignty in Cameroon, and one of the clear indications that we don't have sovereignty or we don't have political power in Cameroon is a fact and the reality that we don't own a currency. That's already to tell you that we are a neo-colonial or we are a colony to France. And that is why Cameroonians must first come back and understand why the war was fought in 1958 by the UPC. To seek for an independence away from France, and that was fought, and we saw that a system which was brought in by France, and that is why you see in Cameroon the similar problem that Cameroon faces. All the other French colonies have similar problem. What France does is that it endorses the government with absolute power and a centralized power, and all its loans and everything passes through the government, where the government becomes the largest employer. And that is why in a country like this, the people are unable to stand up because the government seems to have everybody on its side. But that is a system that was laid in by the colonial master, and that is a different topic for the day. But what we are talking today in Cameroon is that we have an in-house fighting, and I said that as long as I am concerned as a Pan-Africanist, I will defend my country away from these international communities, because we have seen that the United Nations itself has committed a lot of violations of human rights, have sat down and seen the killings and millions and thousands of people around Africa and even in Iraq and even in Libya. That is Libya today. We still say that Gaddafi would have been better off in Libya than what Libya it is today. We still say that Iraq would have been far better off with Saddam Hussein than it is today, because the kind of rate of killing, and it has become now a ground for terrorist attack. People's neck are being chopped off. So what am I simply trying to say? That when an international community begins to seek to dictate to a country on how they should do their thing, that is when, Mr. Liu, I tell you that the people should rise up and stand with their government. But when it is a situation whereby the people have received their sovereignty, the people should be able now to say that no, this government, like we saw in Mali, they put away the government and they are going to bring back another government. Mr. Leo, the problem we have in Cameroon is the system, and I still say it is not the persons. If you take anybody and put in that place, like I keep saying that even if it's an Anglophone who is in power today, he will do even worse. I give you a very clear example. We have the situation today in the northwest and the southwest. Look at the hideous repression of the separatist fighters among their own population, among their own citizens that they are claiming to fight for their independence and give them a better life. But these people have become victims in the hands of these same men who say they want to bring in a separate state. So what am I simply trying to say here, Mr. Leo? We must be very careful with the kind of change that we are looking for, as long as we understand that we have international communities that dictates on how we should run our country. And that is why I am saying that it is a moment where Cameroonians should be able to understand that the system which was given to us in 1960 has to be reviewed by Cameroonians in order for Cameroonians to seek and charter for their sovereignty and become a people of self-determination. Otherwise, we are not going anywhere. Okay. And let me tell Cameroonians something for the last, just to say that before you continue, Mr. Liu. It was Mr. Biya and Gaddafi who were trying to organize a one currency for Africa, which is called the Afrique.
Okay.
Now, I'm just saying this.
The message is gone. Mr. Liu, a bended stick cannot be straightened. And Zelen Christopher is writing from Bamenda. This one says these people, yes, these people, what about us? Good evening, Mr. Liu. Do you guys want the whole Cameroonians to die before the government and separatists solve the crisis? They have failed for 4 years. If we keep depending on what Pastor and Ibako is saying, we will keep dying. My brother with the red tie is right. Reason with him. Wispy is writing from Limbe. This one says, Mr. Leo, good evening. I love your program. Thank you. Hello. I want to let you all know that the so-called international community cannot sanction the Cameroon government because the government has responded positively to the crisis of those who were carrying out a strike action, teachers and lawyers. Those who came with other agendas are to be blamed for our current predicament. James is writing from Limbe. This is Wanjifon Bolingong 2 of Bafochu. He says it's time for action not to condemn whether it's separatists or government. I urge all Cameroonians to stand our feet, protect our human rights to live. Okay. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and the panelists. Mr. Bako's concept of Pan-Africanism may be unrealistic, but perfect for a dictator. I'm Kanjo in Boya. I salute you all in the house. It's Papu Ngole from Tombel. Cameroonians are not fools that today the persons in power can just create an ungodly act and then say otherwise. How can an area be militarized for 4 years and such an act is happening? It shows that the people who are behind such an act are in the house. Okay, stop callings. Ba Edi, writing from Kumba, says the way out of Cameroon crisis. Okay, I agree with the panelists on the need for the church to rise up. Take, for instance, every most Cameroonian belongs to at least a church. If the head of the Catholic, Presbyterian, Baptist, and Pentecostal movement call on their Christians to take to the streets till the solution comes, this crisis will end in a week. Let our church leaders make the clarion call and let it be now. Pastor N.K. Frank is writing from Dub. Good evening. The way I'm seeing the situation, this thing cannot stop because many of them are thieves and they see this as an opportunity to have fun. So please let the government try all means to stop the situation. It's Juliet writing from Kumba. Greetings, Mr. Liu and the panelists. I think the international community has failed, especially the African Union, who can't even back nor biting. Shame to the African Union. Let Cameroonians settle their problems. We have shed more blood now. Foba Desmond writing from Douala. Good evening to you all in the studio. The problem Africans are in the hands of the Western powers who are wolves in sheep clothing. They brought democracy and religion to cause war. We still need to define democracy, democracy and religion. Johnson Babila is writing from Yaoundé. Derek, is this a call? Also, though it's a day for Cameroonians to mourn nationwide, is this also a call for everybody who is involved in this conflict to reconsider their steps henceforth?
Yes, I would say yes. You know, Mr. Leo, on the Saturday, that was 24th of October, it was really a sad day for Cameroonians to have seen what happened in Kumba. And I think the person who really pulled, or the people who pulled the bullet through the skulls of those innocent children have successfully overthrown Lucifer, and they should be seated in his place now. And it got us thinking. That's why I told you, yes, it's time for the two parties to rethink strategies. It's time for the two parties to understand that with the fight of two elephants, it is the grass that is suffering. It is time for us to understand that the local man in the street has been suffering. Because at one point in time we hear of the kidnapping, and sometimes you hear the separatists kidnapping still Anglophones. We ask ourselves, why should you be fighting to protect somebody and then inflicting pain on the same person? Why should you be fighting to give freedom to somebody and at the same time imprisoning the person? But at one time I asked myself, after the mourning on Saturday, like we mourn after Ngabu, we mourn after Pini, we mourn after Kwakwa, we mourn during the Moyoka incident, we mourn during the Ayafo massacre killing, and we are mourning for the Kumba incident, for innocent life lost. After the mourning, what next? After the mourning, should we fold our arms and prepare for the next incident that will still call for another mourning? There I say no. It's not all about the mourning. It's time for the parties to take in conscience, to take in the fear of God, to understand that human life is sacred, and the day you take away one life, you have stopped your own life from existing. And they should sit on the table and talk. There is nothing too big to talk about. And if we understand these lives matter, because Cameroonians were part of the people, Mr. Leo, that condemned the killing of George Floyd in the United States of America, saying Black Lives Matter. And then I asked myself, after seeing what had happened in Kumba, that does Black lives only matter when they are killed by whites, or Black lives should matter everywhere? That we condemned the killing of Black in America, whereas a neighbor's son is being killed and nothing is done. And that, are we going to end only at the level of condemnation? And are the two parties not tired of seeing the blood of innocent people on the street? Then I conclude by saying that if God does not come to save Cameroon, and if the two persons do not employ conscience and the fear of God, then Cameroon may risk going extinct, because the two parties are not willing to talk peace, but they are glad when one person dies. Then, Mr. Liu, another sad thing about this situation is that each time somebody dies, there is this ping-pong game of blaming. No, it is the separatists. No, it is the military. It is the Ambazonian. It is the government. But that ping-pong game does not bring back that person to life. We only bury the person and the person never comes back. So therefore, it's time for us to talk to ourselves. It's time for us to understand, as I will always say, that round tables solve problems better than round bullets. It's time for the government to copy the example of France.
Okay.
Mr. Leo, where a French president will grant citizenship to a Malian because he saved the life of a baby. But Cameroonians, we are celebrating the death of thousands of people.
Hello,
it's time for dialogue.
Hello, good evening to everyone. Mr. Liu, your program is very interesting about this crisis. Mr. Liu, who knows where is the next target? Because normally there must be another plans elsewhere. Oh God, come and help us. Politics game is a very childish game, I tell you, sir. Bajo Blink, writing from Yaoundé, good evening to you. Bajo, I'm James from Arizona in the United States of America. I think Black lives should be respected everywhere. Good evening to you too. Good evening to you, Mr. Leo. I think the next group we have to stand against is the UN. With all the challenges Cameroonians are going through, they are still unable to propose a good solution for 4 years. Children's life also matter. This one's, hello Mr. Leo, good evening, love your show. Always I want to tell us that Yaoundé does not care about us. It's Bobga writing from Andop. Good evening to you, Bobga. We need to go to church and to God. Go on our knees and beg for God's intervention as concerns what is happening in Cameroon in general. Going to church is one thing and praying to God is another. Lady Joan, writing from Kumbo. Pastor Gustav, we've recorded thousands of deaths already. From the ongoing Anglophone crisis. This is, I'm sure, the first time the president is declaring a day of national mourning. What is different with the Kumba killings? Okay. Seemingly, Pastor is not there. What is different from the Kumba killings?
Mr. Liu, lives matters everywhere, and I don't think that there's anything different with those children, or the children were not human beings, or they came out from animals. I think that, like I have been saying before, Mr. Leo, the killing of these children have been the limit and the line that these people have crossed.
The red line?
The red line. And I am saying that we are now out for judgment and declaration of what will become the fate of these people. I think that if we begin to sit here and begin to make comments as comedians and not putting out absolute solutions on the table for what is going to ensure Cameroonians to have a hope that truly we may be gearing towards solutions, Mr. Leo, like I still say, a child does not choose his father, but here we are able to make decisions, to choose the kind of government and the kind of leaders that we want them to lead us, who can represent and befit the spirit of the Cameroonians. Mr. Leo, as I keep saying, who helped Mali? Who helped Belarus? That is Belarus right now. Belarus, you have hundreds of thousands of people on the streets who sleep there declaring for their rights. And at the end of the day, whether that government likes it or not, the government does not own the people, same as the separatist fighters does not own the people. Mr. Leo, as I'm still saying, when this crisis began, almost close to 70 to 80% of those two regions supported the Amazonian revolution, hoping that it would be within a month they would have gained their independence, but they did not see the monster that was coming behind. And that is why I keep saying that the kind of change that we need in Cameroon, first, Cameroon must be able to regain its sovereignty. At that point, Cameroonian politicians or administration will be able to make decisions that befits and uphold the spirit of the Cameroonians, Mr. Liu, as I keep saying. And another point I also want to also put in place is that we should not give room, because Cameroonians may not have come to this truth. No international organization, as I've watched, they have bigger problems over there than the one we are facing. They are entering another phase of heat of the coronavirus, where you have hundreds and thousands of people that are counted dead within days. So when we are calling on the international community and people who have bigger problems to come and help people who have minor problems, and these people are not seeing that they themselves are able to solve their own problem. The issue of the centralized power in Cameroon is a system that was laid down by France. That is where I would say that Cameroonians must be able to make new changes and redefine this thing. But for the one for this Anglophone crisis, Mr. Liu, this will be my decision. The church is going to come out whether they like it or not, and they are going to step into the scene. We are already mobilizing, Mr. Liu. I'm being very honest with you. They are going to use their authority. I said that the time has passed where they should be casting out demons on women who sell tomatoes in the market and pepper, who by themselves, by the activities they do, attracts demons to themselves. We are now seeing demons who have left hell and are roaming our streets. This is a time, I still say, Mr. Liu, the watchers of men are going to be sent out and they are going to pass judgment on this people. This is what is going to happen. If you, a leader, you send people to go and kill Before those people reach to kill, it will be your own children that will die, including yourself, because these people, you don't have monopoly over life, and you cannot decide who will going to live or who is going to die, because you have sat behind as an occultist and decide to push people ahead and meet very difficult enemies, knowing that you are going to use these people to sacrifice to keep your own personal interest up there. So, Mr. Lord, this is a decision for this Anglophone crisis. The church is going to enter and is going to make a decision. This time around, the church is not going to sit quiet. The church leaders and the churches needs to regroup and step in as a government and begin to negotiate a hope for these people. The one of Cameroon sovereignty, a time for that is going to come also for that, Mr. Lou. That is my position. Okay, that is your position. Is Pastor Gustav back? If he's back, can we get from him? Pastor, what is different with the killings of these kids in Kumba, that a day of national mourning is declared for them? Seemingly, Pastor is still not connected. We are going to move over to Kumba to get the reactions of some Kumba population to the decision by the President of the Republic to call for a day of national mourning for the children who were killed in Kumba.
Because normally when it happened in Garbo, there was no action taken, and there was nothing to prove that something has happened in another place. So I'm not pleased with what the president has declared, which means there is a division inside the country. It has made it clear to let everybody know that there is a certain division. I'm not pleased with what he has just declared. Because I feel bad, whether the other people in Garbo were not people, or whether they are not Cameroonians, but I feel bad. And no minister visiting Garbo. Why was it that the minister came to Kumba?
But I may say I'm not comfortable, because whether they declaring the national day of mourning, those children will not come again. They will not come back. So in fact, I'm just looking the thing as something that is too painful for me. But I just believe that the head of state declaration will take us somewhere.
Thank you.
Me as mommy, I don't agree. Because when you see them today, that people they don't die so they not go come back. And think the way they do, they not fine. May they look and say if that they are all cooking, now how it could be. They do not so that because they deal with their own children, they for inside the house, they chop, they feel free, they go school, and then they come inside, the kill our own. You not fine. We not like them so. We not like them. We not like them because they not fine. Make government know. Anyone get conscious, may they judge themselves because that's the way they do. I'm so. Not correct. Me, I be mommy, I don't want my speaking them too. Tomorrow, I want you to say, you don't die. At least I will hear bad. I don't feel fine. No fine.
The other way, they supposed to keep saying the game you win for inside the week. They don't come push about Saturday now, all division. That means the show say it don't even be important. For government, no government office when they go for Saturday. It is over being for inside week. So that if you know so important, the Anglophone don't always be now to make the decide anything. Saturday, now half day, no government office for Saturday. They will cancel a week. So we know so important. For me, don't worry, it really disturbs me. I don't see the important of the social being outside. You worry. Thank you very much.
Well, I think if he has declared a national day of mourning, I want to find out if I wonder if President Biya has never heard that people have been killed in a large number than even this number of children that have just died. Because we've expected that the national day of mourning should be declared for the thousands of people that have died in southern Cameroon, and today they're declaring because some few children have died. To me, it's a non-event. We expect that it should declare ceasefire to bring peace and allow these children to continue their education peacefully. A national day of mourning with that ceasefire is total.
Support to do that, and even any other person who believes in the law, support to do that. I'm happy that you've done that. Declare that money for the loss of this children. And what we are praying is, let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring peace to this problem of the children. Let him bring pea North and Southern Cameroon, which we are facing. People are staying in the forest, in the bushes. People have no houses. The houses have been wrecked down on this war. People are sleeping on floors. Children are hanging somewhere in the bushes. We are not happy. Even if when you want to go out, you are not happy. You are afraid of gunshots. We are praying Almighty God that the president will have and the people of Cameroon a solution in this war.
Take an initiative like this, it is not allowable. But we need more than that. Because the answer is here. The things are too much. The suffering is too much. Mothers are crying. And it is indeed a long suffering. We can take other bold steps.
Okay, the population of Kumba reacting to the call for the respect of Saturday as day of national mourning for the children who were killed in the secondary school out there in Kumba, chief town of Kmer division, southwest region of Cameroon. Song Derek, how should this day be, how should the celebrations or the mourning take place that will leave a lasting impact? Should it be something that happens only in the southwest and northwest regions, or something that should cut across? Do we expect to see a nationwide honor to these kids?
You know, first the name stipulates a national day of mourning. And like we saw the protest in Douala, we saw in Yaoundé and other parts of the country, we expect that it should be for everyone. It should be for everybody. And who is concerned? The children who were killed are children of a mother. And you as a mother, you know the pain. You as a father, you know the stress you go through to sponsor a child. So if your child gets up after 9 months of serious pain, and then in a snap of a hand the child is gone, we should all mourn. But in as much as we mourn, it's a call for concern. It's a call to rethink. It's a call to ask ourselves that after mourning the Kumba massacre, after mourning the Kumba killing, the next question is, which other killing are we going to mourn? And if there's going to be a killing, what are we going to do? Because Mr. Leo, I must be very frank with you that whether we are mourning or not, we are dealing with an effect here. We are dealing with the effects of something that could have been stopped before now. And so, whether we declare a whole week of mourning, those children will not come back to life. Whether we declare a year of mourning, those children will not come back to life. And so whether the country mourns or doesn't mourn, the children, victory is dead and gone, and the children will never see their pens and books and parents again. So I think there should be more to that mourning. The mourning should carry another procedure which comes with possible and effective method on how to end this war, this senseless war that is ravaging and killing innocent people, and we are calling days to mourn while hoping that after the mourning we live to mourn again.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Liu and co. There is a problem over here. My worry is the Mbororo are being killed every day by the armed separatists in the northwest and southwest, in the northwest region, and nothing is being said about it. Nothing from media houses, nothing from newspapers, nothing from social media activities. Nothing from civil society, nothing from NGOs, nothing from the political parties, nothing from the Amber leaders, nothing from the government. I think it's time to know that our lives matter. Also, Mohamedou is writing from Yaoundé. Mohamedou, I'm sure I've talked about that. Good evening. Hi, Mr. Liu and panelists. Cameroon has a problem because the government had long time abolished the workers' union that could call for a nationwide protest. That is why Nigeria is always standing high. Also, the government has called to create too much divisions amongst Cameroonians, and that is why when this crisis started, the government baptized it Anglophones. My name is Nji, writing from Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Liu and everyone in the studio. Please, my question is, Mr. President, okay, why is he not talking to Cameroonians? Okay, Mr. Liu asked Mr. Bako that if Anglophone crisis did not come up, would he have been talking about his Pan-Africanism? I'm writing from Kumba. I'm sure he would have done so. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Can't Mr. Biya go on air and address the brutal killings of innocent children? All he does is declared a non-working day for mourning. Okay, Ta is writing from Bamenda. How I wish something be done to stop the killings rather than allowing the war to be going on while we keep mourning in rain and under the rains on daily basis. I keep wondering how our good God, who created us in his own image and likeness, is feeling. Lady Joan, writing from Kumbu. Now, how do we make this day of mourning more impactful so that it sends a very strong message across the nation?
I think that the only way to make it effective, Mr. Liu, is that there should be a march where people go out on the street in those two regions at every junction and roundabout. We should see women, children, fathers, brothers and sisters on the street mourning the death of these children until the separatist fighters come to reasoning, until the government comes to reasoning that lives in Cameroon matters. Whether you are in the French-speaking part of the country or you are in the English-speaking part of the country, as long as Cameroon begins to lose its human resources, Cameroon begins to regress itself. We need these human resources to build our nation in the future. Our population is going to be our strength. When we continue to lose this population, Mr. Liu, I think that we are having a very serious problem here. And there is something I also still want to emphasize what led to the killing of these children. It is about the school resumption. Before then, I had said before that it was just not good enough for the separatist fighters to say that school should resume. It was also not just good for the government to sit back and watch the separatist fighters to say school should resume. Like I still said, there should have been some level of consensus where some other people preferred a buffer zone, preferred areas where we know those areas have been secured, where the parents who send their children to school have this level of peace and satisfaction that their children's lives are being secured. Because you cannot say children should go to school in a conflict zone where by no one is offering these children the security that they deserve. Now today we begin to cry and mourn. The mourning, Mr. Liu, is not going to help us. What is going to help us is when we are going to get the government to begin to put a heavy security in this area. Get the separatist fighters to also make sure that these areas are not being tempered in conflict areas. And even when the government called war on the separatist fighters, Mr. Liu, I think that the war should have been between the separatist fighters and the military. It had nothing to do with Bororo. It had nothing to do with children. It had nothing to do with the civilian population. So if this war has turned against its own people, that simply means it's a clear indication to tell you that we are having some foreign hands behind these people who we call them our leaders or the separatist fighters down there. They are not being led by the spirit of their people. They are being led by external forces. And that is a clear indication to tell you that today you have only about 10% of the people in those two regions that are standing behind the separatist fighter. In the beginning, they had about 80% and the number was growing. Why is that they losing that population? Because the popularity, because they have been turning against their gods of their own land, and they have brought in a different god called Odeishi, and forgetting to understand that the right to self-determination is a God-given right to all human beings to fight for their rights and to have the will and power to self-determination. So that is what I think that Mr. Leo, we should do. We should go out in our numbers and make sure that the separatist fighters come to their reasoning and understand that these children, is their fundamental rights to be granted the security even in an armed zone, whereby the separatist fighter and the military fighters understand that these areas is a no-go zone where children are being taught. So that is the kind of step that we should take. Parents should go out on the street. What I saw in Kumba or Bamenda was not good enough. We needed to see all of this, if possible, all the 10 regions in Cameroon. And that is where, Mr. Liu, I begin to wonder whether that assimilation was a good plan or not. Because you come to realize that from history, you get two people who have come together from two different backgrounds of colonization. And here a man begins to think that, okay, if we bring them together, this man's problem can become this other man's problem, and this other man's problem can become this other man's problem. Because in this crisis now, I'm seeing that the assimilation of that Mr. Bia was talking about actually could have played a better role now, because the Francophones don't understand to see that the problem of the Anglophone is also their problem, because we are not yet that mingle, that how will I put, that union is not taking place. Everyone wants to stay in its own place. It simply means that if you have a problem, take care of your problem. If I have a problem, I take care of my problem. So your problem does not concern me. So that is where we are having this problem today, whereby we cannot get the French brothers supporting what is happening down there in Southwest for the government to absolutely do something effective to resolve this problem, and the separatist fighters themselves. So what I'm saying here is that truly it has now become that it's only the Anglophones who can solve the Anglophone crisis, not the international community. And concerning these killings, they should go out on the street, sleep on the street, and let these separatist fighters understand that lives matter, and let the government also understand that lives matter, whether it was in Gabu or whether it was a military that was killed or a separatist fighter that was killed. It is Cameroon that is losing its human resources, Mr. Leo. We cannot keep going on like this.
Okay, we can't keep on. International stars are touched. We have seen persons like Rigobert Song Bahanak, who have never said anything with respect to this crisis, coming out, Kylian Mbappé, and a host of other persons. But is it to indicate that killing these children was crossing the red line? And if that red line has been crossed after Saturday, what concrete actions do you expect to see the government undertake so that we don't count more persons falling and the separatists?
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. That's a very tough one there. You know, the stars you're talking about came behind the hashtag End the Anglophone Crisis that has been streaming the social media for a very long time now. End the Anglophone Crisis. And I think after Saturday, what steps should be taken? First and foremost, we should acknowledge that we have buried too many persons of our loved ones. And if we acknowledge that we have lost too many Cameroonians, we have lost our intelligent majority, we have lost our human resource, and we have lost our labor force, so to say, then it's high time that we start thinking that these people need to come together and sit and talk. It doesn't matter. You know, sometimes no matter how bad somebody is, it is good to talk to that person. After Saturday, there is no guarantee that peace has returned, because remember, Mr. Liu, immediately after the massacre on Saturday, on Tuesday there was a lot of chaos and confusion in Boya and Limbe. That was not because something happened, it was because of rumors. And we understand that no sane student can study in an atmosphere that is marked with fear, where there is the unknown factor waving in the air. So after the Saturday morning, which to me is a non-event, in fact, the Saturday morning should be a time that the Cameroon government and the separatist leaders should think a way forward to understand that they need to sit and talk, because those who are losing their life, because Yaoundé, the leaders, those who are sending people to Bamenda, are sitting in air-conditioned offices in Yaoundé, whereas those who are coordinating the separatists are seated across the ocean. So both parties need to get tired of the killing and then sit on the table. Mr. Leo, the international organization has called for dialogue. The journalists have called for dialogue. Lawyers have called. Civil society activists have called for dialogue. And all what is killing us is the fact that instead of this dialogue to be implemented to the latter, we do monologue. There cannot be any misunderstanding, any conflict between you. A conflict comes with two persons.
No, we are talking after Saturday.
Yes,
we are not going back.
That's what we are saying. I'm saying, Mr. Leo, that these people need to talk. No matter how bad the government has hurt the separatists, or how bad the separatists have hurt the government, it's time to talk. And if we don't talk, after this Saturday, we'll be waiting for another declaration of a president to mourn again.
Okay,
just maybe.
Forgiveness should be one-sided?
How can forgiveness can never be one-sided? No sane person will say that. That is why, Mr. Leo, Mr. Leo, maybe you didn't get my statement. I said it and I'm saying it clearly, that let the government, no matter how bad the separatists have hurt them, forgive. And let the separatists, no matter how bad the government has hurt them, forgive. Forgiveness must come from those two parties.
Should the pain that the people of the southwest and northwest regions have undergone for 4 years today not be the core preoccupation of both parties?
I think it should be a call.
Is this not the height of it?
That's absolutely the height of it, Mr. Liu, and I think that it should be a call for concern on both parties to absolutely see that there should be a need for peace to return. But the only problem which I see that the government has been facing ever since and has always been reacting too little too late is just the fact that the people of those two regions have not yet come to the absolutely knowledge that the separatist fighters are not being carried by the spirit of the revolution of gaining an independence. That is what they have not come to understand. And that is why you realize that today they are crying not because of government repression. At one point we had seen how military had absolutely messed up the people there. But right now, majority of the people in those two regions, Mr. Leo, are suffering repression from the hands of the separatist fighters. The question here is, how is that possible? We are here in the French environment. We don't see where the French military is repressing and killing the French people. But you go there, you see how the separatist fighters are turning their own anger on their own people. The question here is, what is the challenge? What has turned them this round when the people that they are turning against don't have any complaint against them? So what is the challenge here, Mr. Liu? That is why I come to say that Libya would have been better off, or would have made the world better today if Gaddafi was still in power. Iraq, Saddam Hussein, would have still been better off to be in power and would have made the world a better place than what Iraq today is. If people had seen that 2018 election, when I cried, I said, go in for that election and all political parties regroup as one and go there and decide who next is going to be your president. They decided that they want to separate the country. And that was where they lost it. Today now they are regretting that if they knew, things would have been the way it used to be. And that is why I still say that peace is not the absence of war. Peace is not the absence of war. Peace can only be achieved when men have the ability to self-decide their own future. So it can be under very extreme conditions, equally as it can still be under war. So Mr. Leo, I think that it is a time, as I still call on the church, to negotiate, to come in and decide and seize or hijack this dialogue that the government has been implementing has been only a waste of funds. They enter in and absolutely negotiate this part on the two parties so that we can have these people talking on the table, because Mr. Leo, this thing has already gone far. Like I'm saying, the government has a means to go down there and kill all of them. It has the technology, it has the capability, it has the resources. But it cannot do so because it's still in the back of his mind understand that these people still have a point because they are fighting for their rights. And they cannot go there because they also understanding that the international eyes are also watching. But at the end of the day, Mr. Leo, the long term in which the government can use in solving this, we don't know how many persons would have died. As I gave the statistics of the current population in the northwest and south, 1.7 million persons as we are speaking, out of 5 million people before the war. So if this persists again for another 4 years, how many persons are we going to lose? So this is the time where I'm saying that the church, be it whether press, be it whether Catholic, be it whether the Pentecostal, the charismatic, should regroup and enter.
Next week,
parties.
Next week we are going to give at least 2 editions to the church on this program. Tomorrow we are going to end our series on the Kumba killings, looking for the ways of healing the souls and the minds of the population, especially after what the people of Kumba went through last Saturday. We are going to be discussing with another round of guests with us here tomorrow at 7 p.m. We want to say we are very grateful to you, Song Derek, for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo, for putting confidence on me. Thanks to the million listeners and viewers of my Media Prime, and to the world and to the Cameroon government and the Seperatists. I want to say that the best time to have dialogue was in 2016, and the second best time to dialogue is now. If we miss this opportunity, then we are doomed.
Adrinatem Ibaku, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. Like I'll still tell Cameroonians, as we leave our homes every day to make ends meet for our family, that is how we are supposed to go out and make ends meet for our nation. When a Cameroonian or Cameroonians have problems, Cameroonians should learn to stand behind Cameroonians and support them in order so that they can come out of that problem. The aspect where Cameroonians are divided and thinking that a problem of this person doesn't concern this other person is going to crumble Cameroon down to zero. And at the end of the day, by the time we want to react, maybe too little, too late. So now is the time for Cameroonians to come together and help Cameroonians, because the government, the situation is above the government. So Cameroonians now need to assume responsibility, because we gave that responsibility to the government and they have been able to do so. They have failed. Same as the separatist fighters have failed. So now it's in the hands of the population to decide and assume that responsibility and charter their way forward. That will bring the parties on table, and then we can now choose a new path in Cameroon. Thank you very much, Mr. Leo.
Okay, we want to thank you, Pastor Gustave Ebai, who took part in the program from Yaoundé. So unfortunately, because of technical issues, he was not able to go through with us in the program, but subsequently he's going to always be there with us. We want to thank you also who took part by watching the program. Lots and lots of messages as usual. We want to say we love you. We also say stay blessed. Bye-bye.